Quando forem ali, aquele micro tem que ser ligado e desligado. Está bem? Porque aquele apanha muito ruído. Está bem?
Ok, bom dia. Good morning. We are here to talk about the electric matrix and the hydropower. Sorry. Let me say the name of the panel. So we are here to talk about the technical climate change, the electric matrix, and the hydropower for the energy transition. I would like to invite the Secretary of Environment and Sustainable Development of Minas Gerais, Marília Carvalho, to join us, and the Environmental Manager of FIEMG, Thiago Carvalho. FIEMG is the Federation of Indústrias of the state of Minas Gerais. And we will start with the presentation of Thiago. Thiago, you can go. And then, after the presentations, we will have a debate and a space for some questions. Okay? So, Thiago, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Adriano. Firstly, I would like to thank you, the government of Portugal, for the opportunity to present this study here. Andrea, thank you for this opportunity. And secondly, it's important to say that Brazil has one of the most renewable electricity matrices in the world, but we were better in the past, and we can be better in the future. Our matrix can be more renewable in the future. Because of that, we conducted this study to show that it is possible to have a 100% renewable electricity matrix in the future. So FIEMG is an institution, the Federation of Indústrias of the state of Minas Gerais, is an institution which represents and defends the industries in the state of Minas Gerais. And besides that, we train people, we develop business, we transform Minas Gerais. And these are some of our important results in the last years. More than 7,000 companies represented by our 125 trade unions, more than 240 millions of investment in education, more than 5,000 companies served, more than 800,000 people impacted by our quality of life service, and more than 200,000 students trained at SESI and SENAI, two of our other institutions. And as I said before, 30 years ago, our electricity matrix was more renewable than today. From 1907 to 1994, 97% of the Brazilian electricity matrix was renewable. But from 1995 to 2022, renewable sources in the Brazilian electricity matrix decreased from 97% to 89%. It's very good, but it can be better in the future because it was better in the past. And despite the increase in solar and wind energy, 1996, the beginning of wind energy production in Brazil, and 2012, the beginning of solar energy production in Brazil, despite the increase in those two sources, why has the Brazilian electricity matrix become less renewable? Because of three reasons. The first one, there has been a significant decrease in the utilization of hydropower in Brazil, dropping from 96% to 64% over the specified period. The second reason is because the intermittence of the wind and solar production. And the third reason, there has been an increase of 600% in electricity generation by non-renewable sources from 1995 to 2022. So these are the three reasons that our electricity matrix became less renewable in the last 30 years. The intermittence, a challenge for the national electricity system of Brazil, the wind energy generation fluctuates by up to 73% throughout the day. This is a chart that shows the energy generation per hour in Brazil. So you can see that the solar energy production contributes with 25% of the energy generation in the noon, at the noon. But at the nightfall, it's 0%. So in this period, we need another source of energy to generate the energy for this part of the day. And to deal with the fluctuation in solar and wind energy, there are only two options: the hydropower and biomass thermal power, renewable sources, and non-renewable thermal power, a fossil source. So these are the only two options to deal with the intermittence of wind and solar energy. And here, talking about the sources of the energy sources, when we analyze the life cycle greenhouse gas emissions for different types of energy productions, the advantages of hydropower become clear. So here we have a chart with the greenhouse gas emissions of each energy source. And when we compare the non-renewable thermal sources with the hydropower, the advantages are clear. A thermal power plant with mineral coal emits 34 times more than a hydropower. And a thermal power plant with natural gas emits 20 times more. So the solution is the hydropower to deal with the fluctuation of the wind and solar energy. We compared to the electricity generation between 1970 until 2022 and the GHG emissions in the same period. The renewable sources in Brazil were responsible for 87% of the energy generation in this period, and 32% of the GHG emissions of the electricity matrix, considering the life cycle emissions. And when we analyze the non-renewable thermal power plants, we can see that these energy sources was responsible for 13% of the energy generated and 68% of the GHG emissions, considering the life cycle too. So again, the solution is the hydropower, and it's possible to use the biomass thermal power too. Some other important information here about the Brazilian reduction targets and emissions from the electricity matrix. Considering the latest GHG emissions data from the industrial sector in Brazil, 2022, and the electricity matrix, the electricity generation information from the same year, the emissions from non-renewable thermal power plants are equivalent to 42% of the total GHG emissions from the Brazilian industry. So just the 11% of non-renewable thermal power in our electricity matrix emits the equivalent of 42% of the Brazilian industry. So if we replace only this, we can do a lot of things in Brazil. If we consider, again, the most recent year with electricity generation data, 2022, if we replace all non-renewable thermal plants with renewable sources, here, solar, hydro, wind, and biomass, this substitution would result in a 53% reduction in emissions from our electricity matrix. So it's very considerable. Here some other information. According to IRENA, to achieve global decarbonization targets, the installed capacity of hydropower in the world should double by 2050. So Brazil reduced the share of hydropower in our electricity matrix from 96% to 64% in 30 years. If we want to achieve our targets, we need to increase this share of hydropower. And this study shows that the world needs to double this in the future. And currently in Brazil, we have small hydropower plants and large hydropower plants between 5 and 50 megawatts. We have 6.4 thousand megawatts installed. And we have 9.5 megawatts ready for auction in a short term. So it's possible to construct more hydropower plants in Brazil because we have this ready for auction in the short term. And considering the year of 2022, the generation of non-renewable thermal energy was 6.4 megawatts in 2022, responsible for 11% of our electricity matrix. And the potential we have of hydropower in the short term correspond to almost 150% of the non-renewable thermal power generated in 2022. So it's possible to replace all the thermal power plants, non-renewable thermal power plants, with hydropower in a short term in Brazil, showing that it's possible to achieve 100% renewable electricity matrix. In addition to environmental impact, non-renewable sources incur economic losses when compared to renewable sources. So in Brazil, the average price of energy provided by renewable sources is almost 60% cheaper than the non-renewable sources. 1 megawatt hour of renewable sources is something about $32 per megawatt hour, and the non-renewable sources $80 per megawatt hour. So if we replace all the non-renewable power plants in Brazil with renewable sources, these are the economic and social impacts of the cost reduction. An increase of 30 billion in revenue, a generation of more than 870,000 employment, an increase of 5.3 billion in wage bill, an increase of 2.6 billion in exports, and a growth of almost 1% in the Brazilian GDP, only replacing the non-renewable thermal power plants with renewable sources. And the economic and social impacts of the cost reduction in our country are responsible of a reduction of more than 20% in the electricity bill, a reduction of almost 2.9 in the price of milk, more than 6% in the price of school supplies, and more than 3% in the price of the basic food basket, only replacing our non-renewable thermal power plants. And to achieve this, our proposal is to replace all non-renewable thermal power plants in the Brazilian electricity matrix with renewable sources, hydro, solar, wind, and biomass by 2035. It is possible because of the short term in ready hydropower ready for auction in the short term. But we need some solutions to achieve this. The environmental permitting in Brazil for hydropower is so difficult to achieve this environmental, and we need to simplify the environmental permitting process for hydropower plants, with the aim of encouraging more investment in this installation of these projects. And we need to create a financing line and a fund to support the construction of renewable electricity generation plants, hydro, solar, wind, and biomass. We don't need to simplify the environmental permitting process for solar and energy and wind, because it is simple today, but we need this to the hydropower plant. And to finish this presentation, I would like to invite you all to support our proposal, accessing our study in this QR code in the presentation. So thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Thiago. Indeed, the hydropower electricity is crucial to decarbonize our energy matrix, not just in Minas Gerais, but in all regions of Brazil. So it will help us to reduce even more our emission related to the energy sector and to achieve our NDC, our national contribution in the Paris Agreement. Yeah. So now I want to invite our Secretary, Marília, to talk about how the state of Minas Gerais is dealing with this agenda. Okay, thanks, Marília. Yes. Vamos lá.
Obrigada. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with Thiago and Adriano in this panel. Thank very much the Portugal government for giving us this space to discuss a little bit about our energy transition in Minas Gerais and Brazil. I will present from the perspective of Minas Gerais government. So there are some information that Thiago already showed, but I will focus in Minas Gerais state. So we are the third state in Brazil in installed capacity of electricity generation, as you can show, as you can see. And when we look about our matrix in Minas Gerais state, it's very important to show that we are almost 99% of renewable energy based. And here it's a focus on the potential of hydraulic generation in Brazil. As Thiago said, we have a matrix based on hydropower, but we have a big potential to increase this generation based on hydraulic energy. And Minas Gerais especially is the first state in potential installed in Brazil. And here we can see especially our matrix in the state. We have today 72% of energy based in solar. As Thiago said, we have a big effort of the government of Minas Gerais to improve the regulation for the sector in environmental area, but in tax regulation as well, what gives us the opportunity to increase our solar energy installed in Minas Gerais. Today we have all the cities in our state. We have 853 municipalities. We have solar energy installed in every city in our state. So it's very important, and we are the first state in Brazil in solar production energy as well. Here I'm showing a little bit about our environmental license. As I said, we had a big effort in the government to improve the environmental regulation for the solar energy, and because of this we have the opportunity to increase a lot in licensing given for this sector in our state, as you can see in this slide. And this slide shows what we have already licensed in our state, but the data of the generation capacity of all the license that we gave in Minas Gerais state. It's very important what Thiago said, because the importance of the diversify the matrix in a renewable based issue, but not just in one kind of power opportunity. As we lead with this improvement of regulation for solar, what we can see that it's just this matrix, just this kind of energy that increase in Minas Gerais. So we have to think about how we can improve other regulations to make this diverse matrix in a renewable based increase in Minas Gerais. Another important thing is about biogas, and in our climate action plan, that's an important kind of energy that we are studying how we can improve in generation in Minas Gerais. Here we can see the scenario in all Brazil about biogas and the position of the states in the generation of biogas. Minas Gerais specifically, we have 198 how can I say travei. Usinas, how can I say, working, power plants working, I guess, in this kind of energy, biogas, in Minas Gerais. So, even in distributed generation and centralized generation, we really have to improve in all the metrics. We are already, as I said, based in renewable resources energy, but it's very important to diversify in the same way in all kind of energies. So here we have the data that already present. We are the third state in Brazil in centralized generation for hydropower, but we are the first state in Brazil in distribution, as you can see in this slide. Future perspective. We really need to promoting actions to increase energy efficient and expand clean and renewable source in state energy matrix. As I said, it's very important to diversify, aiming for carbon neutrality until 2050. That's our commitment in Race to Zero campaign. This is data of our inventory. So 27% of the greenhouse gas emissions in our state is due to the energy sector, but it's important to define here that's not, as we say, energy, it's not just electricity energy. Important part of this emission is due to transportation in our state, because as we have the opportunity to see, the matrix of electricity energy in Minas Gerais is almost renewable source. And here is the decarbonization plan for the state of Minas Gerais within a carbon neutral by 2050, as I said, and we can see the contribution of energy and the goals that we have along the time for this sector. Here it's focused just in energy sector. It's very important for us, as I said, especially for the transport and to improve in biofuels in Minas Gerais. We have an important fuel that in Brazil it's very used, that is based on sugar cane. So we are discussing how we can improve this to achieve the net zero until 2050. This is our climate action plan for Minas Gerais. There are 28 actions and 199 goals. 2 days ago, we have the opportunity to launch a tool that will provide for all the citizens to see how these actions are doing, see how these goals are being achieved, and how these actions are helping for the decrease of the emissions of greenhouse gases in our state. Well, the climate action plan has set the goal to expand installed capacity for 5.9 gigawatts generation by 2030 and 18.9 gigawatts by 2050 through centralized photovoltaic power plants. That's very important what this discussion brings to the floor, that we have, of course, to think what this study showed for us, but try to rethink how we can expand the generation in other source, but not just for photovoltaic. As Thiago said, hydropower, it's very important as well. According to the decarbonization plan, the greenhouse gas mitigation potential associated with this goal is 12.4 million tons of CO2 annually. So it's very important, this goal for the neutral until 2050. To date, the state has already achieved 26% of the target capacity installed and operational, and 70 under construction, and 118% is guaranteed capacity whose construction is yet to start. So we are going through our goals in the climate plan action to improve this sector in Minas Gerais, always based in clean and renewable energy. Thank you.
Thanks, Marilia. Now we have a few more minutes. I have two questions, one for Marilia and another for Thiago. I will start with Marilia. First of all, congratulations, yes, Thiago, for here representing the private sector in Minas Gerais. Congratulations for the study and to seek how to enhance the hydropower, not just at Minas Gerais, but in Brazil. And Marilia, congratulations for the actions that the state is doing in this agenda. So, how do you think the state of Minas Gerais could play a role to attract investments in the private sector related to renewable energy in the state?
Thank you, Adriano. We are already doing this. And a very important thing was what we did with the regulation for solar, for example, as I showed. We did the improvement of the regulation even in environmental area, but in tax as well. We did this for sugarcane fuels as well, for ethanol. And I really think that we need to start to think about other energy bases generation. I think hydropower, it's of course very important. Nowadays we are working hard in infrastructure for distribution in our state. That's an important thing that we already have to improve and to increase in capacity of distribution, energy distribution. But it's important for us too, and Mariana is here from the Agriculture Federation, to improve together with the rural area in biodigester implementation. So, of course, Adriano, in the government perspective, what we can do is to help to improve the regulation to attract investments in all these areas.
Okay, thanks, Marilia. And Thiago, as you know, I represent the forest sector in Brazil. I'm the climate change manager of IBA, the Brazilian Tree Industry. That's the National Association of the forest sector. So, as you know, we represent the pulp and paper industries too. And in this sector, we have almost 90% of our energy generated by renewable source. And this is sourced by biomass, yes? So how do you think the companies in Minas Gerais are dealing with the biomass that it's an important energy in our renewable metrics to decarbonize our economy?
Okay, yes, thank you for the question, Adrian. As I said before, one of the solutions to deal with the intermittence of the solar and wind power is the biomass thermal power. And Minas Gerais Minas Gerais has two possibilities to use the biomass. One is the charcoal. So Minas Gerais has 2.3 million hectares of planted forests to use in the production of steel and to generate energy in the state of Minas Gerais. And the other solution is the sugar cane. We have a big ethanol and sugar production in Minas Gerais, and this production of sugar and ethanol can generate energy too. So I think this is the two solutions to use biomass in Minas Gerais: the charcoal and the sugar cane with the ethanol and sugar production in Minas Gerais.
Okay, thank you, Thiago. So that's it. I want to thank the Portugal Pavilion to invite and to receive us here at COP29. So thank you very much. Bye bye.
Obrigado, eu queria.